Hello, everyone. Hope you're well and happy spring. Finally, it's here. The sun is shining in London and it's a good day. I'm Navi. Welcome to my channel, Rerooters. Today, I'm going to show you how I reroot my dolls. I have noticed that there are still some of you that would like to reroot your dolls, but you haven't found the method that works for you. So I hope I can help you in a small way. As this is my first official video on the channel, yay! Let's start with a bang. And by the way, there is a twist in this video. There's a vintage twist. So before we get there, let me just clean this up and go grab a drink, grab a snack, get comfy, and let's go. Now that we're clean, we can start our reroot. So what are we going to need? We are going to need a doll, Kissing Bear Days, and this works for any rooted doll that you may have. So Monster High, Mycene, Rats, and so on. We are going to need hair, and I use Expressions Collection Kanekalon hair. I know, yes, I do. I have been using Kanekalon hair, and let me show you guys how it comes. It comes in a pack, and this one actually has 2 individual bunches on top, and it's pre-stretched 100% Kanekalon hair. Let me just show you the back as well. Oops. So it's 160 grams of hair, and it's 46 inches long, which is a lot of hair, and that's the reason why I use it. To begin with, I started using a different type of hair, but I've been using Kanekalon hair for the last couple of years because it's inexpensive. We get a lot of hair for it, as you can see, and it's fairly easy to get. You know, you can get it in the hair shop, or you can get it on Amazon or even eBay. It costs roughly £46, you know, and the quality is there. You can also customize it to your liking, and you can add, there's various colors as well to choose from, and obviously you can mix and match. And yeah, it's just the hair that I've been using, and it has worked really well for me so far. So yeah, and a fun fact, Mattel actually used to use Kanekalon hair from mid-90s to 2010s, and it was discontinued in 2015, and then they started using it. They started using other types of hair. I'm not a really big fan of the latest hair that we've been getting because it's nice, and yes, saran hair is fantastic. I don't work with it very often, but yeah. So what do we need to do? Let's get started. I'm yip yapping here, and okay, so I'm going to show you guys. So we've got our little doll here. I'm going to show you guys how I remove my doll's heads. So you're going to need a flat screwdriver. So that's my flat screwdriver. And what I do, I pull the doll's head back and I insert my screwdriver. I know it looks slightly barbaric, but it works for me. So if it's just hold the neck peg as well. And it just saves messing around with hot water, you know, avoids people getting burnt, you know, your fingers burn, and, you know, sometimes you get water all over the place. And it's fairly easy. So that's the method that I use. And yes, I know that there are the new dolls that we are getting from Mattel that have a new neck tag and all of that. But today we're here for the vintage dolls, or the dolls that have the older neck tags that are a bit more, let's face it, these are for children to this is like a safety for children not to be taking their dolls apart, which I'm sure that some of us did. So now that our doll is free, what we need is a pair of scissors. And these are my scissors. And what we're going to do, we are going to cut all the factory hair as close to the scalp as possible. And normally I would use a little elastic band, which you can do. Use a little elastic band to keep the hair all together in a nice little bunch. And you can actually save it to do another reroot, like with shorter hair. I tend to use this type of hair for candle reroots. So, and if you guys would like to see how I reroot my candles, please let me know down in the comments, because we do like variety and it would be nice to see. So once we have cut all the factory hair off as close to the scalp as possible, let's just get this hair. We can still use it. I then grab my flat screwdriver again and I just go into the doll's head and I scrape the factory hair off. And guys, just take care when you're doing this, because it can cause splits, especially along the hairline. It does depend on the doll's vinyl, but if we take care to remove the hair, then it should be fairly easy. And the shorter the hair is, obviously the quicker it comes off. And I can feel that this doll has glue inside. Unfortunately, she does. I'm pretty sure that she's from the 2010s, if I'm not mistaken. And this is just a small demonstration for you guys. I just want you to see the process of the whole process that goes into rerooting the doll, especially along the hairline and the part line. Yes, can you guys see that? I hope you can. It's just a gloop of glue in there, and it's just unnecessary. I'm quite glad that nowadays they don't use as much glue as they used to. I'm pretty sure they've got a new method of keeping the plugs in, but as this is an older doll, it does have a lot of glue inside. So we will scrape all of this off. So guys, normally around the part line, just scrape it, not too forcefully, but just scrape it, because sometimes the hair is crisscrossed or thatched, and as you pull, you might end up with a split, because the hair, as you're trying to remove it, is crisscrossed, and then that will interfere with the in-between of the plugs, and that can cause splits in your part line and also along the hairline itself. It's fairly easy to just get a split there. So when removing, take as long as you possibly can. Just take care with it. And also, you're going to need a pair of tweezers. Sorry. So we just grab as much of that factory glue as we possibly can in between, so we can get closer to the other factory hair that still needs to come off. So that makes it easier for us to then go back into the doll's hair and just scrape it off. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. So yeah, this might take a little bit of time, so be prepared for that, depending on your doll. Once again, I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to take as much of that hair as possible. And it will make your tweezers sticky, so you might want to grab a little acetone afterwards and run through it just to remove most of that hair. So once again, we just go back in and we'll just scrape the hair until it's all gone. Okay, so once again, we just go back into the doll's hair and we are going to remove it. Okay. Might be handy to have a little bowl or a little container where you can just pop all of that glue residue so it doesn't stick or it doesn't fall on the floor, and then you're stepping on it or just grabbing onto your carpet or furniture. It's always good to protect your surfaces. We are getting there. So just carry on, just scraping all that hair off. And removing as we go, because it makes it easier for us to go back into the head and scrape the rest off. And if this is a vintage doll, you may have to work for it, as I am here. See? So when you come to the part line, just be very careful. Just take as much time as possible, assess if the plugs are coming without splitting your doll's head. And the glue is just grabbing onto the tweezers now. And it becomes a yucky mess. Okay, so just carry on through. And guys, once all this hair is out of the doll's hair or head, it will be good to run it through some water with some dish soap, or just let it soak for a little bit, but allow as much of the soap detergent to get into the doll's head, and just let it soak, just so it removes as much of that nasty factory glue as possible. And it's always good to also clean your doll's head and make it nice and fresh for the new hair. As you can see, there's a lot of glue in there still. So I'm showing you in real time how long it can take to remove the factory hair. So rerooting, I find it very relaxing. And I have been rerooting now for quite some time. I want to say 8 years at least. But my first reroot was actually when I was about 8. And we had this poor raggedy doll that was combed to alopecia. And I took the hair off. I can't even remember how I did it. But I do remember that I used yarn. We had some yellow yarn. And I thought it would be good to just add the yarn to the doll. And, well, I had a long way to go. Let's just say. She was fully rooted in the end, and she ended up looking like a golden yellow Rapunzel. So, yeah, now that we've got all of that factory hair gone, we can just wash our doll's head. And sometimes you might have a bit of fluff on your doll, so it might be good to just pluck it. Oh, there we go, another plug that I couldn't see. Should have gone to Specsavers. If you're in the UK, you will know that reference. If not, I apologize. Specsavers is one of the famous opticians that we've got here, which I'm pretty sure you guys might have it in other countries. So do let me know in the comments as well. So our doll head is now ready to be washed and to be prepped for a reroot. Now, if you're going to use blonde, she's already fully prepped to have some hair onto her. If you would like to change the color, what you may want to do is grab a bit of acetone and just remove that yellow tint or yellow cow paint that she has, or you can just paint over it as well. Now you can use acrylic paint, mix it with a bit of Mod Podge, and just use a pencil or even a cotton bud and just dab it. However, what I tend to use is nail polish. Yes, I do use nail polish. Now this has the dries in 60 seconds super shine. It's by Rimmel London, go figure. And it's Darkest Desires 901, just in case anyone is interested. Now I don't tend to paint my nails. I do get my cuticles done, not done, I do them myself, which sometimes can be a disaster. Unless you are a pro at doing your own cuticles, I would recommend going get it done professionally. Plus, it might be more enjoyable. So what I tend to do is I will grab my nail varnish and I will just coat the doll's scalp. Now I don't do it as too close. I just follow as best as I possibly can where it had the previous color. And normally one coat will be enough. And I do think, and the reason why I tend to use nail polish, I think it strengthens the doll's head a little bit, especially around the plugs, because it can split. I'm not going to lie to you guys. You might be doing a full-on reroot and you are nearly there, and it's happened to me a few times. You're nearly there, and where the part line is, the doll's head decides to split. And yes, it's not pleasant, it's not enjoyable, but it is a risk that I will say to you guys, it can happen. So I do think that this might help to strengthen the doll's scalp a bit. And if you find that your nail varnish is too shiny, you can put a top coat of matte varnish on top of it to strengthen it even more. So it does say that it dries in 60 minutes and it's already starting. So I hope you guys can see. She is fully covered, or as best I possibly could do it on camera, as this is pretty much my first time. So yeah, so once that's done, you can just pop your nail varnish away and your Mod Podge and your acrylic paint, and we just let it dry. Well, I could leave it dry for 60 seconds and it should be fairly dry. If you want to go over it, you can. If you don't think it's fully covered, or you would like it to be a bit more strengthened, or you want to put a top coat, go ahead. So once that's done, we can go ahead and reroot. And yes, I changed the doll head because I would like to show you now how I start my reroots. And she's already fully prepped. And this was the doll that I was going to originally use for the video, and oops, and there she goes. There she goes. So once you've got your doll's head ready to be prepped, you are going to need your rerouting tool. So I've got my rerouting tool here, and I believe I got mine on eBay many years ago now. So I'm not even sure if you can still find them, but you can get these fairly easily on eBay or Amazon, just, or you can just Google it and you should be able to find rerouting tools. And sometimes they come in a pair of two, in a pack of two, which is brilliant because what I tend to use, I use a larger needle for the middle of the doll's head, and I use a smaller needle for the front line and the part line to avoid splits. Okay, so but should you need to, or if you want to start and your rerouting tool hasn't arrived and you are just, or you just want to give it a go, I've got a pencil here, and believe it or not, I have made my first rerouting tool when I first started was a pencil. And what I did, I grabbed a needle and a pair of pliers, and what you want to do, where the hole for the threading is, you want to cut it at an angle. Just be careful when you do it because sometimes it can. So you want to cut it at a small angle to create a little fork. I hope you can see that. So just cut it at an angle and you create a little bit of an angle on, we call it the needle butt. So that's what I call it, or the needle eye. That sounds better, doesn't it? Yeah. So just cut it at an angle, and you can also just shorten your needle. Just be very careful, guys, when you do this, because sometimes it can jump. In this case, it didn't, but sometimes it can jump. And what you want to do is just, once you've got your needle, you can just use your pliers. Hope you guys can see this. And you just insert it into the pencil as much as you can. Obviously, cut it a bit shorter if you need to. I find that when you leave too much length on your needle, it's easier for it to break. So I would cut about that much off. Now, let's just do that. Oops, and it popped. And then just use a hard surface to insert your needle onto your pencil. You can just use a tiny bit of force on your, and ta-da, you've got your makeshift rerouting tool until your reroot or rerouting tool, or it might work for you to do it this way because it does work. It's effective. At least I found it effective when I first started, and then I swapped for one of these. Now, if you would like to strengthen it a little bit, put a tiny bit of school glue or even a bit of super glue on it to make sure that it stays. The only thing with that is that every single time that should your needle split, then you guys will just need to cut that right down and put another one. So when you can and when you feel confident enough, then get your rerouting tool. I do find that two is always a good thing to have, because I have misplaced my rerouting tool plenty of times. So, and people use X-Acto knives as well to use as rerouting tools. I found one that works for me. So once it's done, I use one for a smaller needle to go on into the hairline, and then I usually swap, or I'll have one ready, which is a bit larger for the rest of the head. I hope that makes sense. So now that we've got cleared up, I hope that was helpful to you guys. We are going to start. I'm going to show you how I reroot, because that's what you guys are here for. All right, so we're going to need some hair, and as I explained, I use Connect-On hair. Now, since our lovely model is a redhead, I'm going to go with some redhead Connect-On hair. So I just take a piece of hair, I remove it, and I've already separated that from the pack to make it easier. Let me just remove these things out of the way for a little bit. So depending on the length you guys want, you can always just double that and make it shorter. It does depend on the look you guys are going for. Obviously, that's down to preference of length, but I'm just showing you guys how I do it. So in the middle, I knot my hair strand. So that becomes a plug. So I just give it a little tug. And what I then do, I grab my doll, I grab my rerooting tool, and sometimes I just want to find that hole first, and then I grab it. I meet the knot with the doll's factory hole, and I just push it in. There you go. That's your first plug, okay? So I'm going to show you guys again. Just grab a little bit of hair. It's always good not to use too much hair, because you can always add hair, okay? So as you practice and you get better, your fingers will kind of learn how much hair you want. So again, I give it a knot, and then I just meet the next hole of my doll, and I hope you guys can see that. So the next hole, and I just go in again. And sometimes you might have to just punch it a couple of times. As I'm working on camera, it's not as easy to do as I normally would, because normally it's just, and off you go. So the reason why I do that, I use that knot method, because can you see that? And go around the world, and I just tangled all this hair. It's all good. So I'm going to show you guys once again. I hope you guys can see it. So we just pick a little bit of hair off the bundle. We just separate that. And Connect-On hair, guys, is fairly easy to use. Honestly, it doesn't tangle very much, even when it's in its kinky, stretched form. And I will show you guys, once we've got a full reroot, how we take that kinky texture onto silky, straight texture. So once again, we've done our knot. I normally tend to just punch the hole again, and then I meet my knot with my angle on my needle, and I just punch it in. And it's easy as that, honestly. So what I tend to do, first I go around the hairline on both sides, and I leave the parting for the last. Parting is the last thing I'll do. So once again, I'll just grab my hair. I'm going to show you guys once again. I just grab the hair, I knot it, and then I grab my doll. I meet my needle with my knot. I hope you guys can see it. And then I just punch that knot in. Oh, and sometimes it can split. I'm just giving you guys the reality of rerooting. So what I tend to do, I will then do another knot at the end. I'll use my scissors. I'll give it a little trim. And then I will grab my doll again. I will meet the hole. And I'll just punch it in. Because that way you are not wasting your hair. And it does work well in keeping your hair plugs neat and tidy as you work. Because it keeps the hair all together because you've given it a knot in the middle. Obviously it doubles the width of your hair, of your plugs. And it's going nowhere. Guys, I'm really pulling here. And sometimes if I need to reroot a doll, which I wouldn't recommend you guys doing this, but I will really have to, pull that. Now, I don't use glue on my reroots. I tend not to use it because once I reroot a doll and I treat the hair to be straight and silky, my plugs don't come off. So I haven't really had any of my dolls' plugs come off. I think one did once come off, but it was because it was too small for the hole. I had used too small a strand and it just came off. But I rectified that. You guys can use glue if you feel like I need that extra security. I want my plugs to go nowhere. I am in need of that assurance, then by all means do that. I haven't felt the need to do it. So once again, we've got our knot, and that one's a bit too thick, but we are going to do it once again. And then we just punch it in. And that's it, that's your plugs. So you just carry all the way through. And then once the hairline is complete, you just go ahead and start your next row. And what I tend to find easy or even faster is to do one side first and then carry on doing the next. And then I do the hairline or the part line at the very, very end, because that is the best part ever. And I'll show you guys how we do it. But guys, this is a lovely doll, but this is not a doll that I want to reroot for you guys. So yeah, she is lovely, and we will carry on rerouting her at some point, but she is not the one that I want to reroot. So we are going to say goodbye to her. I just wanted to use her as a guide to show you guys how I reroot, or how I start to reroot my dolls. Now, Because this is the first video on the channel, I wanted to do something special, and I want to reroot for you guys. The totally hair Whitney doll, aka Whitney Steffi Face Ultra Hair Barbie. And here she is. Released in 1991, the most sold out Barbie of all time. And I've already prepped her, as you can tell. I already prepped her, and she is showing her age, guys. Bless her. She's got some chipped lips and some chipped eyebrows, and I will try to fix that. And I'll try and record that for you guys. But first of all, we need to give her the ultra hair that she deserves, because she's a beautiful doll. She's very hard to find nowadays. And when you do find her, unfortunately, she goes for quite a bit, even outside the box. And in box, it's very difficult to find her as well. And so is the AA Totally Hair Barbie. They are now three decades old, if not more. So, yep, let's get this doll the hair that she deserves. Let's bring it back to her full glory. Now, I removed the earrings as well, guys, so it doesn't tangle in the hair. So, without further ado, let me show you guys how I prep my plugs. So, we still got a bit of confetti going on. So, I prep my plugs ahead. I'll just sit there for a couple of evenings, and I'll just separate the hair, make sure that it's all prepped, and I'll just do my plugs in a couple of settings, so it's easier to reroot, and it keeps the hair in place as well. I'll just put an elastic band on it, and I do a couple of batches of that, because I like to do even smaller knots for the part line and the hairline. So in order to avoid the hair from splitting, I even got this other little row, which is a bit thicker. So I just put my hair as I need it. So these are my thicker plugs for the middle of the hair, and these are my smaller plugs. So I'll just take a plug and I grab my Whitney, and I grab my rebooting tool, which is somewhere. So now that Whitney is all ready and prepped, we are going to go into her first plug. We're just going to push that in, and it's secure. We then grab another plug, and it's better to just take the elastic band off the plugs as well. So let's just do that right quick, or just loosen it up a little bit, because it does tend to keep the plugs in place. And we're going to go on to our next one. And this vinyl is slightly softer as well. So the softer the vinyl, the more you're going to have to work that a little bit more careful in order to avoid the scalp from splitting. So I then go on to my next plug, and I just punch it in. And sometimes I like to make sure that that plug has gone right in. Then I grab my next one, and so forth. Oh, let's just get rid of this. And we're going to go on to our next plug. We're going to punch that. And we're going to carry on. Hi guys. So we had a bit of a problem. So as you know, I used the nail varnish on the Totally Hair Whitney Steffi face, and for whatever reason it wouldn't stick to the vinyl. It could be due to the age of the vinyl, but it wouldn't stick. So I noticed they started coming off in my hands. So I quickly had to stop the video and stop rerouting. I removed the head that I had already plugged, and then I just quickly ran to wash it out. And I don't understand, because on this doll's head is not coming off. So it has to be the age of the vinyl. I'm scraping it and it's not coming off, as you can see. So it can only be due to the vinyl and the age of the doll. She's 35 years old now, I believe. So what we're going to need to do, I rectified the issue. What we're going to have to do now is a part 2 of the video. So on part 2, we are going to focus on rerouting the Whitney doll and getting it finished. Okay, so I will see you guys in part 2. I will upload it as quick as I possibly can, and bear with me and let me know down in the comments what you think so far, if you're enjoying my rerouting process, and if you've learned anything new. And yeah, let's go. All right, see you soon. Bye bye.